finding drinking water, staying cool or keeping warm, traffic jams, charging equipment, hygiene, lacking privacy, no internet for work, finding places to park, rip-off campsites. Van life is not all glamorous, and certainly not for everybody. Constantly having to think ahead can be exhausting, and finding places to escape, especially here in the UK, can be really tough. And yet, here I am, living in my van. Van-lifing, as the internet calls it. Good term. Anyway, I'm not here to share my story as to why I live in my van, how I've ended up in this situation, but instead to talk about what I flipping love about it. It can be really hard to change your lens of focus from the challenges and the difficulties that it presents to the absolute joys that it has to offer. And actually, when it comes to what I love about van lifing or living in a van, I have 5 tips. When it comes to what I struggle with and the challenges, I have 10. A list twice as big, people. Even I can do that maths. And yet, for me, the pros far outweigh the cons. So, in this video, I'm going to share just what it is that makes me so happy about life on the road. Good morning, everybody. Spring arrived! Woohoo! This is the view I've literally just woken up to. How nice is that? Honestly, I think the thing that's nicest about these springtime temperatures is now, like I've just woken up, right? I can open the door. I can just leave the door open. For a lot of people, this is very damp, wet, cold air, but for me, it's just perfect. And I can just open the curtains towards the cab and I can just have light. Yes, okay, it's a really dark grey morning, but I can have light. I really love that. Like in winter, you really are knuckled down quite a lot. And I don't mind it, it's cozy, but I think spring is gonna hold, well, it does, it holds so much potential. All right, the first thing that I love about living in a van is I never know where I'm going to wake up. Now, this can be really quite amusing, but the nature of me living in a van is I am constantly on the move, and that's partly with work and personal life, to and from, out of the country, and it can be a little bit intense, just constantly moving on. But particularly at this time of year, with it being winter, I am arriving in places more often than not in the dark. And then it's not until the morning that I actually see, like, oh, I'm in quite a thick forest here, or oh, there's a lake over there, or a river, or oh, there's a mountain, or oh, there's an ocean. And it can be just so cool to see where I wake up every single day, and to also not know at the end of any given day quite where I'm going to be the next morning. And I love that. I take great joy in that process because I have everything that I need in my van, so it kind of doesn't really matter where I am. And yet the flip side to that, when I do have a chunk of time in the UK and I don't necessarily have to travel so intensely, is I can pick where I want to live. So I can live on a mountainside and go for swims in a lake every day. I can live by the ocean and go for coastal walks every day. I can totally sculpt that, as long as I'm not annoying anybody, and of course away from people, which is what I generally want to be in my van, for their sake as much as mine. It's absolutely brilliant. Just choosing to live wherever I want to live and changing that up frequently is so cool. And the additional side to being somebody who is in the endless pursuit of being out in nature is my wildlife encounters are increasing with pretty much zero effort. What I mean by that is, I'll be parked somewhere like this and the red deer are currently down from the mountains because there's snow up there, and they're just roaming around and they're like, oh, we know you, you're cool. And I'm just like 1 or 2 meters away from a red deer, which is like poking its head around like, what are you doing? I can smell coffee, can I have one? And it's so lovely. And probably my favorite wildlife encounter was in the Lake District. I just woke up one morning quite early and I opened the side door and I was in this car park. And there was a red squirrel just sitting feeding. There was another red squirrel on a tree trunk. Then there was like this great spotted woodpecker pair who were just flying around. And then there was a freaking hedgehog truffling around in the foreground. And it's like, I have a hedgehog, I have 2 red squirrels, I have 2 great spotted woodpeckers. Oh, there's a nuthatch. Oh, there's a tree creeper. And it's like, this is so beautiful. It's like, they don't mind that I'm there. They're not disturbed by my presence because they're used to vehicles, and because I'm just trying to be very careful and cautious and mindful interacting around wildlife or moving around wildlife. It's just creating these really special sacred moments. So for me, that's something that just instantly puts a smile on my face. It's just opening the door in the morning, being like, where am I? What lives here? Like, tell me your story, landscape. And it's just such a fulfilling experience. All right, what's up, people? We are in the Lake District. We're on the edge of the Lake District, and I'm giving 2 talks today for the National Trust. Very, very excited to share my story with some of their workforce and volunteers. Hopefully inspire some people to get outside, have meaningful adventures, and find purpose through their pain. So let's go. So this is the hub. Looks like a studio set, doesn't it? Wish it was. And there's a dog. Oh. So the second thing that I love about living in a van is my dog loves it. So he comes with a huge amount of challenges and features in the challenges of van life video that I've recorded. But, big but, he actually genuinely loves it. Now, when it's not too cold, not too hot, it's just, he's such a happy little chaffy. So Bobby, my dog, he's 16 years old. He's a Yorkshire Terrier. He's blind. He's losing a huge amount of his hearing. He has all sorts of problems and requires full-time attention and care. But when we are together in the van, he is just such a happy little boy. He sits in his box, clipped in the front seat, and even though he can't see, he's constantly like looking around, and you can just tell in his demeanour that he's happy. And he's happy to be with me, and he's happy to be on the road going somewhere new. He loves sleeping on the bed. When I'm sitting at the table doing some office work, he will just sit on the bed, have his little snout poking over, just, you know, making sure I'm there, listening and just being certain he's not alone. But he's just such a good boy. And he's just like, oh, I'm in my van. This is nice. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but tucked underneath the bench here is his Burt box. This is his little cabin that he stays in more often than not. And that goes here beside me when I am sort of doing stuff in the van, and he just needs to sort of be semi out of the way. He doesn't like the kitchen noise and things like that because obviously he can't see, so it makes him jump. So he just goes in his Burt box and he knows that he's safe. But just seeing him sitting in his little Burt box, and it's like we have our little house routines, just like we did when we lived in a house. It just gives me so much joy because life is just so simple. And when your dog is happy, how can you not be happy? So the fact that my dog loves this so much is just one of the things that I adore about living in a van. Bobby, is this what you want? Bobby, high five. High five. Good boy. You want that? The third thing that I love about being in a van, I've actually just accidentally mentioned, but it's okay because all of these things really do just tie up into being one nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, is the simplicity. I have a very limited amount of space here in my van, and therefore I can't have everything that I own in the van. So I do have a storage unit. It's worth me mentioning that. Down in the southwest of the country, I have so much outdoor kit. We have wild store stuff. There's just life things that we're still sorting out from having lived in a house. And are we going to live in a house again? You know, fridges, ovens, tables, beds, sofas. Those things are in a storage unit. Currently unsure what to do with them. And then there's another unit which has got my, well, right now a lot of my summer hiking kit. It's got my scuba diving kit. It's got a lot of my books, and I love reading. Books are very hard to get rid of. It's got some very precious ornaments from my travels. That's just all in a very small storage unit and safe and sound. I know where it is. I know what I've got. But I don't fundamentally own a lot of things. And I love that about being in a van. Sometimes it can be very frustrating to have to travel to the unit to swap things over because I'm leading a wild walk or I need some different kicks. I'm doing a different activity like bike stuff, water stuff, whatever. But it's also okay And then what I have in the van, I have to make do with. And it's just great. It blends so well with my lifestyle. I've never been a person of excess. I'm always moving things on. I don't get joy in shopping and buying things. Even when I travel now, I take like the guidebook, that's sort of my memento, rather than necessarily needing to purchase something from a country for the sake of just having a thing. The memories and the footage and the photos that I have, they are my greatest possessions, and it just works so well. So I think I was already quite minimalistic in character before having to move into the van, but now that I'm in the van, it just complements that character trait of mine so well. And so everything has its place. I know that I've got a box of camera gear. I know that I've got a box of this and a box of that. And yes, I'll swap things out, but it's that simplicity of like, what you've got is what you've got. And it's just absolutely fantastic. You can't overthink it. There isn't just stuff that you're drowning in. It's just so simple. I'm trying to overcomplicate the simplicity of the message and it doesn't work because simplicity is inherently simple. So living in a van is inherently simple. It's great. I love it. Bish bash bosh. Moving on. It is another very rainy night. I'm currently in the Cotswolds. I've been here for a few nights now, and today I've driven nowhere. Went for a 10k run, and I have just been editing and allowing Bobby to rest, and it's just been really, really nice. I got out before the weather really came in, and since sort of midday it's just rained and rained and rained and rained and rained, and my side door is leaking, and every time we let Bobby out for the toilet we get blasted with the wind and the rain, and yet shut that door, turn around from the leak, and just the simplicity of being in the van is so brilliant. You just have a brew, get back to work, Robert snuggled up. It's just so cozy, and it really fills me with so much joy. And also it's humorous. The wind is very erratic at the moment. We've had some very windy nights whereby you sort of feel like you're on a boat, like being shifted about, but it's comforting. So we will be heading to sleep again. Well, he's already asleep, actually. With the sound of the rain. Drip, drip, drip. Okay, the fourth thing that I love about living in a van. Now, I'm not the most sociable person out there. I'm definitely far more introverted than extroverted. Not even in the middle. I'm definitely introverted. I am very, 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 probably more than is healthy, comfortable in my own space. But, big but, I am meeting some fantastic individuals on my van life journey. Now that's indirectly through sort of people saying, oh, Abbie lives in a van, and I'm in a conversation, and then I meet somebody else who's like, oh, that's cool, tell me what it's like living in a van. And we end up having a conversation because they're curious, and it's like, that was nice. And then directly, so like last night there was another van here in this car park, and you end up chatting with them and being like, what's your experience and what do you do about this? And oh, I don't sleep out in winter, I go back to my house. And it's like, okay, fair enough, like I do, it's cool. And just having those conversations. And I love getting real about living in a van. Like, it does come with a lot of challenges. I do spend time in buildings, I do book Airbnbs, I do stay with family, I am out of the country a lot with my job and with personal life. So I'm in a van a lot, but also not a lot. And just having those conversations with people is so nice. People that get it and people that don't get it, all together just amasses to being this really interesting web of connections and networking almost that I've started building through conversations purely around having a box of metal around me. So that's been something that I didn't expect that I'd enjoy so much, but I do enjoy it. And it's increased my self-confidence, it's increased my sociability, it's increased my thoughts process when it comes to living in a van. Like, when somebody asks a question and you really have to think about answering it, like, actually, yeah, what do I do about that? And actually, why doesn't that bother me? Or actually, why does that bother me so much? It can be really just an interesting process to go through. So that's the fourth thing that I love about living in a van. I've come out without a camera, which I keep doing because I'm just living my life, and we all have a phone, so I'm filming this on my phone. But anyway, I'm sitting at the top of Cat Bales. It's really windy on the windward side over there, hence my slightly blushed face. And this side on the leeward. Pretty decent view, eh? I was just thinking, like, man, this is the life. I live in a van. I've been working all day, and I just thought, right, I just need to get some exercise in before the light disappears. So I've just run up Cat Bales, power walked, run up Cat Bales. Got a brew. I've got a view. Yesterday was absolutely jammed here. You know, it was a weekend, a very sunny weekend here in March in the Lake District. Today, not a soul. Freaking living my dream, man. It was amazing. And then we'll just run back down and get back to work. Bish bash bosh. And the fifth thing about living in a van is possibly going to be a little bit political. But it definitely gets more political in my challenges video because it's just one of the challenges. But the flip side is I've taken back control. So the fifth and final thing, right now, in this video at least, that I've come up with today, that I love about living in a van is it's my space. So I mentioned that I travel a lot. And often that's coming to and from airports. And often I'm sitting on the plane and I'm like, oh God, like, so what do I need to do? I need to get my bag. I need to get out, get into the country. I need to get to my van and I need to drive somewhere, probably at least an hour away because, that takes me away from civilization and somewhere where I can just be and not have to stress about driving in the morning. And, I need to defrost the water and it's going to be cold and just all of these things, the process. But honestly, like by the time I've pulled up, I've had the heating on. I've talked about that in my cold winter video, how I stay warm in winter. I get in here, open the side door, shut the side door because I've clambered in, and I turn the lights on. I've got a brew, and it's like, this is good. This is really good. And it's just everything I need is here. We've talked about the simplicity, and it's my space. And then I can just make a plan for the next few days, where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do, whether I have a plan or not, I'll make one. And it's just, I absolutely love that it's my space. And we had a house. My partner and I had a house last year. We lived in a building, a rental property. We had to leave that property. The family wanted it back for their family, even though they've put it back on the market. Long story, never mind. I'm not going to go into that. We tried to rent another property. I did have the van all through this time, but we tried to rent another property. But being self-employed and having a dog and doing my own accounts as a self-employed person, because I don't need to pay somebody to do what I can actually do, basically writes me off for renting. I am the bottom of the pile when it comes to being accepted as an application for a property. And it was so frustrating, like being like, let's go and view this house, let's do this, like whether it's the Scottish or the English system. It just drove me round the bend. It was so deflating to just have to like grovel to these landlords to live in a house which doesn't even meet the living requirements that my van can meet. The last house that we had was damp, it was cold, it was full of mold, it impacted my lungs, it impacted my dog's health. You sort of were in this constant dilemma of like, do we pay attention to the house or do we just sort of get out of the house and not spend time there? But then when we don't spend time there, it gets colder and it just sort of goes in circles. And long story short, being out of that system, at least for now, and not having a landlord telling me what I can and can't do, asking me how much money is coming in from here and what am I spending on this, it's absurd. The infringement on privacy that you have to share with this unknown person in order to even file an application to even be considered as a tenant in this country, it was just driving me around the bend. So by living in a van, I feel like I've really taken back control. Like it does come with a lot of challenges. You notice just how much of the world, at least let's just stick with the UK world, is privately owned. How much of that is don't touch, this is mine, get lost. But that's for the challenges video. The empowerment side of that is where I can go, or where I can sneakily go and push limits until I'm told to leave, it's just amazing. It's so fun. It's so adventurous. It's so explorative. It really piques my sense of curiosity. And it's just given me so much more I keep saying that word because it's legitimate. It's like empowerment in a very disempowering situation, which is as a young person, self-employed with a dog, trying to rent a property within my budget and not then just slave away for the rest of my life in order to pay that extortionate rent when I'm not even being looked after by the landlord. Now, I know that that is a massive brushstroke. Like, not everybody's situation is like that, but that's what I was experiencing, and now I'm not. And that's great. So where all of this is going, I don't know, in terms of like, what's the next steps? Am I going to live in a van for a really long time? Is this a short-term thing? I don't know. I'm just in the present right now, and I'm really okay with that. I have other things that I'm focusing on, such as like actually wholeheartedly, unapologetically stepping into my sense of identity, building my business so that I can inspire more people to get outside and have meaningful connections with the natural world, to give back to nature so that we can leave it in a better place than when we arrived. Connecting with my family, getting out, having adventures, bringing people together, animals. Full stop. You know, there are things that I really, really care about, and I don't need a physical building around me to do those things. And that, yes, okay, it's vulnerable. Like, this van could die at any given point. That engine could give up, and then what am I going to do? I don't know. But why worry about something I can't control? And I think that sort of, it's just my random rant that I've just gone on that sort of culminates, is that the right word? Concludes, there we go, that's a better word. The end of this video is, I really love living in a van, and it's not like I'm living in this 365 days of the year. I am, you know, traveling out of the country a lot. I am on shoots, I am camping, I am on the trail, I do stay with my family, I do store stuff with my family, but it's all a process, and every month things are changing, and every month something's a little bit different, and every month it's a different thing that I need to do, a different place that I am. And being in a van enables me to live almost what is becoming the life of my dream. Like, I never knew, well, I did know, I had an inkling that this was something that I would like, but I'm just loving it more and more every single day. And it's so good. So watch the challenges video. That's going to partner very well with this, and see if you can feel the difference in the vibe. Like, am I seeming happy? Are the challenges really weighing me down? Like, I'd be interested to hear your opinion. But also, I'd be interested to hear, if you live in a van, sort of what are your greatest joys and pleasures? What are the challenges that you face? Let me know in the comments below. If you don't live in a van, what do you love about life? What are the things that give you joy? What are you grateful for? Let's build a community. Let's come together and focus on the positives, because it's all too easy in life to focus on the negatives, the places that we're not in control, the things that we can't choose, the things that we can't change. But there's a lot that we can choose. There's a lot that we can change. And ultimately, everything starts with our perspective and the lens through which we're interacting with and seeing the world around us. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Please hit like, please hit subscribe if you haven't done already. Share this video with someone who needs a little bit of van life joy. And until next time, enjoy your adventures and stay wild. I'll see you soon. Adieu. I'm really struggling to move my fingers. My hands are so cold. It's 0 degrees. What's my van? My van's 4 degrees. Hey, yay. Better get the kettle on.